Herb, remind me. We gotta cut that number. Hey, I'm okay, I'm okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Herb, let me just look out and see who all's here tonight. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello! Oh, well, let's see. Got a bunch of fellas down here in the front row. A bunch of fellas over here. A couple of girls sitting there by themselves. You know, here we are, it's Kiki and Herb at Carnegie Hall, all these fellas sitting together and all those girls, but, you know, a bunch of losers, couldn't even get a date. Come to Kiki and Herb show. That's terrible. I know what's going on. Hey, I love the gays. If it weren't for the gays, we wouldn't have had a career. It's your life, you know, it's your lifestyle. Do whatever you want. Just, you know, try not to tell too many people about it. No, I'm just kidding, Herb. Herb's a, you know, a little bit light in the loafers himself, you know. Not only is he a retard, but he's also a homosexual and a Jew. Yeah. Lappy, lap, lap. Clappy, clap, clap. But let me tell you something, sweetheart. When we were growing up, it wasn't trendy to be a gay Jew-tard like it is today. Hey, I love the gays. My son Bradford's a homosexual. Bradford is a 50-some-year-old homosexual travel agent living in a condominium in the Russian Hill of San Francisco. Yeah, San Francisco. I love it. It's beautiful, really. But, you know, I haven't spoken to Bradford probably since the early 1980s, so that'd be, what, 10, 15 years ago? At that time, Herb and I were performing in around somewhere down there around Washington, D.C., and Bradford and my sister Candy came to visit. We were going to have a sort of a family reunion of sorts, and well, while they were there, they staged what they call an intervention. And I got a little perturbed, and one of the terms of my parole was that I had to go through rehab. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't mind that. I don't mind going through rehab. It's a nice little vacation, and, you know, it doesn't last long. But then, after I got through rehab, they told me I had to get a job. A job. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. I've been working my entire life. You know, they all know you gotta get a job. Well, I quickly found out the difference between working and having a job. When you're working, you have the client or the employer, and when you're finished doing your work, they give you the money and you just stick it under the mattress. Now, when you have a job, you gotta give them half the pay back for the privilege of working for them. I don't want a job. I'm happy, you know. I'll keep working, you know. But I had to get a job to prove that I could be a valuable contributor to society. And so I secured a position working in a little convenience store in a shopping in the Waldorf Plaza in Waldorf, Maryland. And just down the way, they had this Popeye's chicken. And every day, this one fella would come down from the Popeye's chicken religiously and order himself a can of Mr. Pibb. Well, I thought nothing of that. I figured, well, you know, Mr. Pibb, somebody's got to drink it, right? You know, but then I thought to myself, now, you can't tell me they don't give free soda to the employees at the Popeye's chicken. Surely the soda must run like the River Jordan at the Popeye's chicken. But nonetheless, this fella's coming. Finally I started to think, this man has an agenda. So So I start teasing up my hair a little bit more in the morning, wearing a more electric shade of lipstick to work. And the next thing you know, getting to know you, stepping out. Before I know it, I'm pregnant with my daughter, Miss D. Now, I have to tell you, this did come as a bit of a surprise to me because by this point, I was in my early 50s. Well, I figured, okay, what the hell, we'll go with it, see what happens. You know, and the thing was now, Yasawe was so good to me. That was his name. He was an African-American gentleman by the name of Yasawe, a wonderful fella. And he was terrific to me because I couldn't leave the house, you know. Every time I'd leave the house, people would just look at me and point, oh, look at that crazy old woman, thinks she's pregnant. It was devastating. I couldn't leave the house. But Yasawe came and brought me Popeye's chicken every day. Every day during the entirety of my pregnancy for Miss D, I ate nothing but Popeye's chicken. I was sure she was going to be born with feathers and a beak. But when it came time, she came out perfectly, all 10 fingers and toes, neither of my hips cracked. And when it was all over, I looked at the doctor because Yasawe had been so good to me. I said, listen, doctor, when you're sewing up my episiotomy, could you just give me one extra little stitch for Yasawe? See, you women in the audience, you know what I'm talking about. What's one extra stitch to save your marriage and keep your man happy? Well, the doctor took this to be such a generous offer on my part that he began to call it the Yasawe stitch. And I think he calls it the Yasawe stitch to this very day, which I think is a lovely tribute. I really do. But of course, that was just a wonderful time in my life. It was probably the most sort of secure, settled, kind of calm time in my life. Yasawe and Miss D, they adored each other, and we were having a terrific time. It was really a lovely time, and of course, this was the Reagan-Bush era, so you can imagine it was a very dark time in this country. And at that time, they had the war on drugs, you know. But first it was the communists, then it was the war on drugs, now it's this and that. You know, the main thing is to have an invisible enemy that there's no chance in hell of you ever catching. Because if you could catch the enemy, then the war's over. Then who are you gonna pay? How are you gonna stay in office? You know, hey, yeah, I don't need to tell you, you know what I'm talking about. But at this time, it was the war on drugs. And I remember one day Yasawe was out driving, and maybe he was, you know, speeding a little bit, and they pulled him over, and I guess he must have had a little sack of marijuana for my nausea. And this little packet of white powder, my nerve medication. Now at that time, they had a mandatory sentencing, if you were caught with drugs, of 15 years, ladies and gentlemen. 15 years for a little marijuana and some nerve medication. Well, I was devastated. It was a terrible thing. They sent Yasawe away, and I went to try to visit him as often as I could find someone to drive me. But eventually, we had to get back to work, and Herb and I got a contract performing on the Princess Cruise Lines, as I said, and eventually I lost contact with Yasawe, and you know, it's very difficult to keep in touch with somebody from international waters. And to this day, I really don't know what happened to Yasawe. I hope he didn't catch anything in prison he couldn't get rid of. But he was a wonderful man, and I was out there walking by that water, and I just remembered all those lonely nights on that cruise ship, looking out at that ocean and missing Yasawe, and I've just been thinking about him a lot lately, ladies and gentlemen, and so I thought, well, it's a special night, you know, and I'd like to sing a song for Yasawe, ladies and gentlemen, because he was a wonderful man, a terrific father, and the most tender lover I've ever known. And so I'd like to sing this next song for Yasawe, and I hope you enjoy it.